That's the number to ring, and we're going to come to your call shortly. But before that, a wolf whistle or a cat call. Well, it's something a lot of us thought was just a thing of the past. But apparently sexually harassing behaviours are flourishing on the quieter streets and public places, particularly during lockdown. Emma Wilson, who founded the Anti-Harassment Club, has had experience of suggestive comments which she says are both insulting and intimidating. And she's calling on the government to make public sexual harassment a criminal offence in the UK. Well, on the line is Eleanor Keegan. Eleanor's digital marketing assistant at Northern Power Women and the presenter of the Northern Power Futures podcast. Eleanor, thanks for joining us. Wolf whistling, cat calling, is it not just a bit of harmless fun?
Hi, Roger. Thanks for having me on.
Pleasure.
I don't personally think that it is just a bit of harmless fun. I do think that it should be a criminal offence to sexually harass someone on the street.
But is it harassing? Isn't it just some man expressing the attractiveness of the young lady who's walking by?
I mean, I guess it could be viewed as that, but as someone who has been through it, it doesn't feel like a compliment. It never does feel like a compliment. It puts you in a really vulnerable situation. It can make you feel very scared and quite threatened when you're in that situation.
So it's happened to you?
Oh, yeah. Well, it actually just happened to me a few days ago when I was walking home from work in the city centre. A man felt the need to comment on my legs.
And you did not take that as a compliment?
I did not, no.
Are you worried that if some people do that, they could go further and come up to you and maybe, I don't know, assault you in some way?
Definitely. I think that is the fear with most women when they experience this type of harassment. There's always the fear that it will go that one step further, which is why I think we feel so vulnerable when we're put in that position.
This group, which is based in Brighton, I think it was only June that Emma put together this group and started a petition. She's been inundated with people saying, yeah, it's a real problem and the impact really is, and she says, damaging to women's mental health. Do you think that's true?
Definitely. I think it can cause a lot of worry, and I think it can definitely cause people to be scared to go outside. It can give people self-esteem issues. We can be worried that it's our fault that this is happening to us, and it can make us feel like it's because of something we're doing, when it's not something that we're doing, it's something that other people are doing.
What about challenging behaviour like that? I mean, there must be some women who can. I suppose it might be difficult, but I mean, I try and challenge people who drop litter, and it's not very pleasant. And maybe it's the same kind of thing. You feel you can't challenge it because maybe people will go back at you. I don't know. Yeah,
well, I feel because it does happen to a lot of young women, I think, feel scared to say anything back to them, to talk back to them, in case they do start to get aggressive towards us, because we don't want to have to fight them at the end of the day. You just want to carry on with your day and go on doing what you were doing in the first place. You don't really want to have to argue with someone on the street because they've said something sexually suggestive towards you.
It's interesting, this anti-harassment club website that she started, that this woman, Emma Wilson, started up, apparently, and I can't believe it, but she says it's true, girls as young as 12 have experienced this kind of thing.
Yeah, it's terrible. When I was in school, I went to school in the city centre of Liverpool, and I would experience it when I was in my school uniform.
Really?
And yeah, it's quite worrying and troubling to think that young girls, even as young as 12, are experiencing this all across the country. We shouldn't have to feel so scared to walk outside of our houses that our children, young as 12, are having to hear sexually suggestive things screamed at them on the street. It's just not right.
Maybe men should also get involved in the sense that we should challenge men, we men should challenge men who we observe doing this or saying these things. Maybe we don't do that enough.
Yeah, I do think men don't call their friends out enough on making sexually suggestive comments towards people. At Northern Power Women, we have a lot of male advocates who pride themselves on calling out poor behaviour, and if we could grow on this community and make it more normal for for men to say to their friends, hey, that's not a right thing for you to say, then maybe it wouldn't be such a big problem.
So just to explain, you say Northern Power Women has men as well involved in that organisation?
Definitely, yeah. We've got a lot of male advocates who they love to support us in the work that we do, and they like to point out to people, hey, that's not right, you shouldn't be doing that. They do it in the boardrooms, and I'm 100% sure they would do it if they saw sexual harassment on the street as well.
Now, I understand that it's a criminal offence in France and in Portugal and in Belgium. It's actually a criminal offence to harass anybody, but principally it's women, of course. Should that happen here? Should we have it here?
I do think that we should make it a criminal offence here, and I think it would definitely send the message that we don't agree with this behaviour and that the behaviour won't be tolerated anymore. I do also think that it would help victims of sexual harassment feel less vulnerable when they're walking around the streets, and that they're a bit more protected, and that they'll be listened to if they do tell someone about this.
I wonder, has it got worse during lockdown? Are you aware of that at all? Because there are fewer people around, so people feel more, but men generally feel more emboldened to actually do this. Has it got worse?
I think it has, because we actually ran a poll this morning on our Twitter to see whether the Northern Power Women community have experienced catcalling and wolf whistling recently, and about 60% of them said that they had been impacted recently. Wow. So I do think 60% of the people who took the poll, yeah, it's a large, massive number really when you think about it, considering so few people are actually out on the streets, that so many people are experiencing it still. I do think it could be because there are less people, so if you're in a big populated area, maybe the men wouldn't feel like they were in a comfortable position to catcall someone, whereas if it's just me and someone else on the street, they'd feel more comfortable because they're not going to get called out by anyone.
There may be men as well, but principally women who are listening to this, who are interested in what you're talking about in terms of Northern Power Women. Can anybody join this? How do you find out about it? What does it involve? So
Northern Power Women is an organisation. We help women in the North and organisations with the working life of women and how sexism can affect us in our daily working lives. You can go to our website, northernpowerwomen.com, or you can go to our podcast, Northern Power Women Podcast.
Which is, you run that as well yourself, don't you?
Yes, I present the Northern Power Futures podcast, which helps young people.
I mean, it's just that people might feel a bit on their own in terms of when this happens, and they know there's something like Northern Power House which they can come together or can get involved with. They may, Northern Power Women, they may feel less alone and therefore stronger when this kind of thing happens. But definitely. I just can't believe it. 60% is an extraordinarily high figure. I mean, what would your advice finally be to anybody who experiences this kind of thing?
I definitely advise that they make sure they do not think that it's something they're doing wrong. We can't control others' actions, but we can definitely control how they make us feel. Don't let them take your confidence from you, and report it if you feel comfortable doing so.
Oh, right. Well, thank you very much indeed, Eleanor, for talking about it. It's really good to know that women are fighting back.